For 30 years, the film industry looked at Christoph Waltz and saw absolutely nothing.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
They didn't see a genius. They didn't see an Academy Award winner. They didn't even see a movie star. They saw a prop. If you lived in Germany or Austria between 1979 and 2008, you almost certainly saw him. He was the divorced dad in the background of a romantic comedy. He was the neurotic doctor in a daytime soap opera. He was the guy in the trench coat on a police procedural that aired at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. He was what the industry politely calls a working actor, and what the casting directors less politely call TV furniture. Reliable, professional, entirely forgettable. This isn't the story of an overnight success. This is a case study in how the entertainment business almost deleted a master craftsman because he didn't fit into their spreadsheet. Christoph Waltz wasn't hiding in obscurity for 3 decades. He was standing right in front of the camera, screaming in 3 different languages, waiting for someone, anyone, to actually turn the lens on. And if a specific American director hadn't been desperate enough to look in the one place nobody else was looking, you would never have known his name. To understand the sheer statistical improbability of Christoph Waltz's career, you have to understand the specific kind of hell he was trapped in. It is often referred to as the German TV ghetto. It is a comfortable place. It pays the bills. But artistically, it is a graveyard. By 2008, Waltz had over 100 credits to his name. Just look at the resume. Derek, The Old Fox, Tatort. These are the institutions of German television, procedural crime dramas that have been running since the Jurassic period. The scripts are written on an assembly line. The characters are archetypes, and the acting requirement is usually stand there and deliver exposition while looking vaguely concerned. And Waltz was good at it. Too good, arguably. In 1996, he hit what might be considered the nadir of his indignity. He appeared in an episode of Kommissar Rex, a show about a crime-solving German shepherd. Yes, the dog is the cop. In the episode titled Der Puppenmörder, or The Doll Murderer, Waltz plays, well, exactly what it sounds like. It is a performance of high camp and low prestige. He is manic. He is terrifying. He is acting his heart out opposite a dog. And the industry looked at that and said, okay, that's him. That's the guy. He became the go-to face for weird, neurotic villains in mid-budget TV movies. He played the Austrian pop singer Roy Black in a biopic where he wore a wig so bad it defied the laws of physics. He worked constantly. He paid his taxes. He raised a family. But he was invisible. In Hollywood, there is a myth that talent rises to the top. That if you are good enough, eventually the gatekeepers will open the door. Christoph Waltz is the living, breathing disproof of that theory. He was doing the work. He was refining the tools that would one day win him 2 Oscars. But because he was doing it in the wrong medium, in the wrong country, wearing the wrong wig, nobody cared. He was a Ferrari engine being used to power a lawnmower. And by his own admission, the engine was starting to rust. The tragedy of Christoph Waltz wasn't just that he was unemployed. It was that he was overqualified. If you look at the typical trajectory of a soap opera actor, they usually learn on the job. They master the art of hitting their mark, finding the light, and crying on cue. But Waltz came from a different world entirely. He was born into the theater, literally. His father built stage sets, his mother designed costumes. He didn't grow up wanting to be famous. He grew up wanting to be good. In the late 1970s, he did something that very few young Austrian actors dared to do. He left Vienna. He moved to New York City to study at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute. For those not fluent in acting pedagogy, Strasberg is the high temple of the method. It is the school of De Niro, Pacino, and Dean. It teaches psychological realism, emotional memory, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Waltz spent his formative years in New York soaking up this intense, heavy, intellectual approach to the craft. Then, he returned to Germany to play a doctor in a show written over a weekend. This created a violent mismatch between the actor and the material. Imagine hiring a master architect to build a garden shed. He's going to ask questions about the foundation, the light, the structural integrity. The foreman just wants him to hammer the damn nails. Waltz developed a reputation. He was labeled difficult. Not because he threw tantrums or demanded a bigger trailer, but because he asked questions. He would question the script. He would question the director. He would try to apply Strasberg's psychological realism to a character whose only function was to advance the plot of a murder mystery. In later interviews, Waltz described this period with a brutal, blue-collar metaphor. He compared himself to a plumber. He said, "If you're a plumber and you go to a house to fix a pipe, you don't ask, does this pipe represent the existential dread of modern society? You fix the pipe." For 30 years, Christoph Waltz fixed the pipe. He suppressed his training. He learned to deliver the bad dialogue with a straight face. He became efficient. He became cynical. He essentially automated his own talent to survive the boredom. By 2008, he had accepted his fate. The dream of international cinema was dead. The method was just a tool gathering dust in the basement. He was 52 years old, financially stable, and artistically hollow. But thousands of miles away, in a room in Berlin, a crisis was forming that would require exactly the specific, eccentric, overqualified skill set he had spent 30 years hiding. While Waltz was resigning himself to another season of police procedurals, Quentin Tarantino was in Berlin, watching his masterpiece fall apart. He had spent a decade writing the script for Inglourious Basterds. It was his magnum opus, but as pre-production ramped up, he realized he had made a catastrophic miscalculation. He had written a character that on paper was brilliant, but in practice appeared to be impossible. Colonel Hans Landa. Landa wasn't just a villain. He was a linguistic genius. The character required an actor who could switch seamlessly between German.
Würden Sie bitte in die rechte untere Innentasche meines Mantels greifen und mir geben, was Sie darin finden?
French.
Vous commencez à expliquer l'origine de votre possession du cinéma.
English.
No sheltering enemies of the state, are you not?
And Italian.
Gli amici della vedetta ammirata da tutti noi, questa gemma propria della nostra cultura, saranno naturalmente accolti.
Sometimes in the same paragraph. He needed to be charming, terrifying, bureaucratic, and hilarious, all at the same time. Tarantino did what Hollywood always does. He looked for a star. He auditioned every major actor in Germany. He met with the biggest names in France. But every time an actor walked into the room, the character died. They played Landa like a caricature. They barked the lines. They played the evil Nazi trope that cinema had been recycling since the 1940s. They couldn't handle the poetry of the dialogue. The situation became desperate. Tarantino later admitted to his producers that he was ready to pull the plug. He famously said, "I might have written a part that cannot be played." Think about the weight of that statement. This wasn't a small indie film. This was a massive studio production with Brad Pitt attached, and the director was 1 week away from sending everyone home. His plan B was to cancel the film and simply publish the script as a novel because he refused to make the movie with a subpar Landa. The casting director, Simone Barr, was scrambling. She had exhausted the A-list. She had exhausted the B-list. So, out of sheer necessity, she started digging through the crate of working actors, the people with long resumes and no name recognition, the TV furniture. She put a name on the list that likely elicited a shrug from everyone in the room. A 52-year-old journeyman who had been playing second fiddle in detective shows since the Carter administration. Christoph Waltz got the call. And in true cynical fashion, he almost didn't go. Waltz walked into the audition room with the enthusiasm of a man going to a dental appointment. His agent had warned him, "Don't get your hopes up. American movies never cast Germans in the big roles. You'll be the guy who says halt and gets shot." He read the script. He saw the swastika. He saw the uniform. He sighed. To him, it looked like just another World War II period piece, the exact genre he had spent decades trying to avoid. But, being a professional plumber, he showed up to fix the pipe. But as he began to read the dialogue for the opening farmhouse scene, something shifted. The other actors had played Landa as a soldier, loud, aggressive, militaristic. Waltz played him as a detective. He didn't bark. He smiled. He treated the interrogation not as a confrontation, but as a polite, bureaucratic procedure. He brought that Viennese theater training, the precision, the rhythm, the mask of civility covering the violence, and applied it to the text. Tarantino describes the moment as a spiritual experience. He later said, "We were just vomiting ourselves. We were so happy." After 30 years of silence, the lock finally clicked. The mismatch was over. The overqualified actor finally found a script that was difficult enough to require his full attention. Tarantino cast him on the spot. But then, he did something brilliant. He realized that Waltz was a secret weapon. He forbade Waltz from rehearsing with the other actors. He kept him away from Brad Pitt and Diane Kruger. He didn't want them to get used to him. He didn't want them to see Christoph the nice colleague. He wanted them to meet Hans Landa for the first time on the day of filming. When the cameras rolled for that opening scene, the terror you see in the eyes of the French farmer wasn't just acting. It was the realization that they were in the room with a force of nature. Waltz didn't just steal the movie, he ate it whole. Christoph Waltz went on to win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Then he won the Golden Globe. Then the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, or BAFTA. Then he did it all again for Django Unchained. In the span of 2 years, he went from an unknown German TV actor to one of the most revered screen presences on the planet. And Hollywood learned absolutely nothing. You would think that the discovery of Christoph Waltz would have taught the industry a lesson about casting, that looking for types is a mistake, and that profound talent can be found in the most unglamorous places. Instead, the industry did exactly what the German TV producers had done in the 1990s. They put him in a box. Immediately after Inglourious Basterds, Waltz was cast as the villain in The Green Hornet. Then the villain in Water for Elephants. Then the villain in The Legend of Tarzan. Then the villain in James Bond. They didn't see a master craftsman with infinite range. They saw a bad guy in a suit. They saw a new flavor of foreign heavy to replace the Russians they had been using for 20 years. Even after proving he was the best actor in the world, the industry's imagination could only stretch far enough to cast him as Hans Landa, but in a different costume. Christoph Waltz's career is a triumph of individual perseverance, but it is an indictment of the system. It forces you to ask the uncomfortable question: how many other Christoph Waltzes are out there right now? How many geniuses are currently playing Corpse Number 2 on a police procedural in Munich, or Madrid, or Seoul, waiting for a director crazy enough to look at them and see something else? Waltz was lucky. He found the one director who needed his specific frequency. But luck shouldn't be a prerequisite for genius. For 40 years, Christoph Waltz was a ghost. Now he is a legend. But the machine that ignored him hasn't changed. It's still looking for types. It's still ignoring the plumbers. And somewhere out there, the next great actor is currently staring at a script for a soap opera, wondering if anyone is ever going to notice that they are actually fixing the pipes better than anyone else on Earth.